From the heart of your nation's capital to the shores of the Empire State, this is the Patriot Report Live. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to my global audience, Walter Cotton, and the special guest, Mr. Ratwan Hill, coming at you with the live installment of the Patriot Report. Mr. Hill, how are you, my brother?
Man, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Man, if I was any better, to have to be two of me. And so, um, Patriot Report Live. What do we owe the benefits of this auspicious occasion?
Absolutely. And that was the question I was going to say. If we're going live, there's got to be something big. There's got to be something, game changing.
Well, I think that there is a game changer in the atmosphere right now. And I've been sharing with people, at least, those who would listen, that I believe that we are in the throes of a constitutional crisis, perhaps. I believe that there are some things that are happening right now that require the attention of our citizen soldiers. And what I'm specifically talking about are the attacks from within against our acquisition system. I believe that these threats that we're seeing to our acquisition system represent a clear and present danger. They represent a threat to the security of these United States because they make us less safe. They make our industrial base more porous. And I, as a veteran, right, you as a veteran took the same oath, right? We took the oath to defend this nation against all threats to the Constitution, both foreign and domestic. And I believe that in the form of some of the actions that we're seeing right now, there are some challenges and potential threats to our Constitution, the greatest of which, and I'm just sounding the alarm on this, is the actions that came out of Executive Order 14240. Which is requiring the centralization of contract actions under the federal government's purchasing agent. We've seen this movie before. I've talked about this in other Patriot reports, but this is such a challenge. Such a threat to the security of these United States that I thought it important for us to have meaningful and continuous dialogue about it so that you all are informed about the threat. That's my side of the equation. What's your side of the equation, Mr. Hill?
Yeah. So, like you said, with the consolidation and bundling, I can imagine that, you know, all the contract opportunities, they're gearing it towards best in class. So that leaves me with the question: where does that leave the small businesses if they're looking to consolidate everything under GSA, and even looking at the GSA contractors who are on GSA schedule, a lot of them are not performing under their currently. So I could imagine, them being cut out. So I guess my question is, uh, could you go into more detail about exactly how consolidation and bundling affects small businesses directly?
Well, but before we jump into the weeds of the issue, I think that we need to let the audience know who we are, right? I don't want to make the assumption that we're not going to get some new people to this live version of the Patriot Report. And for me, I'm kind of old school at this. I'm kind of long in the tooth. I guess I can flex. I heard a report once where Halle Berry told a guy, "Google me if you want to know who I am." And I guess I could do a similar flex these days. And I would just tell you, if you really want to know who Walter Cotton is, why don't you ask your favorite AI? Huh? Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? Who is Walter Cotton the third?
Oh, Walter Cotton III? Sounds like a fancy name for a guy who's probably got a trust fund and a yacht named after his dog. What's the story there?
No, I mean, really, who is this guy, Walter Cotton III, that has anything to do with veteran contracting?
Oh, gotcha. Sorry. I was just messing around with the name before. Walter Cotton III? He's a big deal in the veteran business world. Service disabled vet himself, runs the Cotton Exchange consulting firm, and he's all about helping vet owned companies snag federal contracts. Back in the day, he helped ramp up DoD spending with disabled vet businesses from like 750 million bucks to over 19 billion. Now he's dropping tips on LinkedIn and YouTube about prime subs and procurement hacks. Total game changer for folks like that. What sparked the curiosity?
We're doing a little bit of a podcast live called The Patriot Report, and I wanted someone else to give a little bit of background on who I might be because my reputation tends to precede me at these events. But the other individual on the call is Mr. Ritwan Hill, and I want to take the time to actually introduce him myself. Well, let me stop that because this young man happens to be my protege. And I'm of the opinion that if we veterans help each other, we can all do some great things together. And I met this young man when he was in what I refer to as more of an at-risk state. And I'm actually bringing up a video that I did that kind of demonstrated that as I handed him over the baton. Because at the end of the day, you know, we are in a very small fraternity, us veterans, right? Us citizen soldiers, and we have to take care of each other. And I met this young man, like I said, in an at risk state. And I asked him a very simple question when he said, "Hey, I'd like to do some government contracting." Well, let me let you hear the conversation I had with him back then. Oh, of course. This is going to be my Bill Gates moment. I'm trying to be all sophisticated with this new environment, but let's take it from the top. Let you guys hear what we said back then. I promise you, baby, that love and nothing less. Supreme truth, the only lesson with knowledge. Well, isn't it fancy meeting you here, Walter Cotton? I'm traditionally your host for my Patriot Report, but today I'm doing something a little bit special. Let me stop that. I am passing the baton, right? There is a rite of passage that you're participating in where I'm taking a franchise that I created, I birthed, and I was going through the process of maturing, and I'm handing it off to the next generation, the younger generation. What you see pictured next to me above is a disabled veteran who came to me after a webinar that I did with the Veterans Administration a little bit earlier this year. And he said, "Mr. Cotton, I want to get some of that generational wealth that you're talking
And
about.
yeah, I
I've
could
got
let
two
that
young
keep
kids at
going,
home and I want
blah,
to take
blah,
my
blah,
benefit
blah, blah,
and
blah,
I
blah,
want to
because I got
use
the
it."
real McCoy here, the new and improved version of Mr. Ritwan Hill, who is not only the host of the Patriot Report, he's also going to be my co-host on what we're calling, no, I'm sorry, I said he's the host of the Patriot Report. No, he's the host of CEO at the Gas Pump. So if you're a CEO and want to get some exposure, check him out on that podcast. But he's also going to be my co-host, my partner in crime for the Patriot Report Live. That's Mr. Ritwan Hill, and that's where he came from. What I'm going to share with you during these Patriot Report Lives is where he's at and where he's going. And I'm going to start by giving you guys an update on something that I'm missing today and you're missing today because of this constitutional crisis that, I keep saying that I think we find ourselves in. And let me see, I'm trying to learn how to work this studio, so you guys will excuse me as I jump around here. But the constitutional crisis that I say we find ourselves in is leading me to be very concerned about whether or not our Congress has the wherewithal
has the testicular fortitude to do the right thing in this season. And as we're sitting in the throes of a partisan shutdown, I mean, and we tend to be nonpartisan on the patriot side of this equation, on the military side of this equation. But as we sit in this partisan shutdown that doesn't make any sense at all, right? That is retarding our government. This is our time to have a conversation, for us to caucus together, right? Us huddle and get prepared to take advantage of the powers that we enjoy as we the people, right? We the people have the ability to tell this Congress that may or may not be confused about the fact that we live in a constitutional republic, and we have the wherewithal, because of our democratic form of government, to change these things. What we are putting them on notice about with this podcast is we're planning to do it. And we're telling the rest of our citizen soldiers why we are doing it. The Patriot Report Live is the War and Peace Report. Okay. And the reason that we're calling this the War and Peace Report is because recently I received an honor from Her Excellence, Dr. Teresa Mosley, where she inducted me into a fraternity of peace ambassadors. And you might have seen my LinkedIn post on my position on peace, which I borrowed from the urban philosopher Gil Scott Heron, where I believe peace is not the absence of war. It's the absence of the threats of war and the rumors of war and the preparation for war. And so I'm wholly focused on a peaceful resolution to this acquisition challenge that we have. But we have an acquisition challenge that's in front of us that, as I said, has the ability to threaten the fabric, the security of these United States of America. And this is how it occurs. What we are doing, as Mr. Hill suggested a little bit ago, is we are centralizing our purchasing under the federal government's purchasing agent. Folks, we've seen this movie before. Whenever you employ that kind of monopolistic practice, that type of a monopolistic pressure, and there's this large a pool of money available, fraud, waste, and abuse is endemic. It's inherent in that kind of a system. Notwithstanding the threats of fraud, waste, and abuse, our agencies have tried to outsource work to the GSA historically, and that hasn't worked before. And so, what I'm suggesting is that the request that the country is being made to consider under Executive Order 14240, it makes America less safe because it is going to clog up our acquisition process. And notwithstanding the fact that just centralizing it, if they are successful in pulling it off, and I say if they are successful in pulling it off, because the vast majority of the country believe that it's a fait accompli. They believe that it's done. I'm watching the acquisition community. Let me go full screen on this while I just stand on this soapbox for a minute. But I'm watching the acquisition community at large run scared from an action that is, in my humble opinion, wholly illegal. In my humble opinion, it violates the Constitution of these United States of America. And so the powers that be who've asked the acquisition community to participate in this action need to be made aware at the way they're putting the acquisition community in harm's way. And so in this particular instance, what they are asking the acquisition community to do is they're asking them to violate the Constitution. And that violation of the Constitution puts them in harm's way, personally, individually. And so, what I and my citizen soldiers are going to do is we're going to expand the aperture of the target, right? We're going to expand the aperture of the target to not just include our bureaucrats, our GS workers who are just trying to feed their family, right? We're expanding the aperture to include our members of Congress. We're expanding the aperture to include the president, because what we're looking at is the application of plenary powers, right? This is the president's plenary power under this executive order to employ this action. And I'm just going to call it what I believe it to be, right? I think in business we call it the Peter principle, right? Sometimes people are promoted to inefficiency, and this one, a educated, seasoned acquisition professional could see coming from a mile away. I'm looking at language that's coming out of reports like my friend Sam Lee's Substack, where he's pointing to the problem. He's saying that if you consolidate contracts under this centralization strategy, utilizing these best in class contracts and these mandatory contract models, one of the unintended consequences, or maybe intended consequences, is going to be an increased cost of operation for the small business community. In a season where we're already seeing a diminishment in available small businesses that the government has to pull from, it was down 48% at the last measure, and an additional 4% during this season's measure. Increasing the cost, the economic barrier to entry for small business, is not going to make more businesses available to fulfill the mission. So what does that mean? That means that we're going to be right back to the place where we were at during the run up to World War II, when we were going through that mobilization effort, and our war profiteers had jacked the price so high that we saw them as not just too big to fail, but they were too big to manage. And we had to kick Rudy the Riveter, right, and the citizen soldiers in the gear in order to put ourselves in a position to defend these United States of America. Folks, that's happening again, and we don't need to let that happen. And Mr. Hill, I needed to start this one out with this lecture because we got to set the stage. We have to set the stage for our citizen soldiers so that they understand that, guess what? We, the people, still have power. We, the people, have the ability to stop this action, but it's not going to stop by itself, right? Our Congress is demonstrating by going on break and shutting down the government, right, for these partisan reasons. When we've got people suffering in the street, our Congress is demonstrating to us that, hey, man, they may have a crisis of consciousness. And so we are going to have to put ourselves in a position to make sure that they understand that we're spreading the wealth. And how are we spreading the wealth? We're starting by letting you know that come the midterm election, those of you who were participating in these shenanigans, you will be held to account. We have a couple of actions that we're moving through the Congress. One of them is to create a gold program for veteran-owned small businesses at the Department of Defense. Now, Speaker of the House, riddle me this one. Why does it make sense to keep the government shut down when there is a bill that's called the National Defense Authorization Act that has elements in it that make this nation more secure, that have elements in it like this component that I'm talking about that is over 20 years old in correcting, right? This is an era that's 20 years old in correcting the need to create a gold program for veteran-owned small businesses at the Department of Defense. Why, can you explain to me, are we not opening the Congress so that we can get that particular vote done? Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to hold you and the other members of Congress that don't take judicious action in doing the people's work accountable. And I can say that, where's my people at? Well, I'm not going to bring my people up. You all know who my people are. My people are the citizen soldiers, right? My people are the existing men and women who've sworn an oath to defend this Constitution. And what's happening right now has got me pissed off. And it's got me pissed off to the point where I am preparing to create a class action lawsuit against Congress and the president. Now, that guy right there must have some big, hairy cooliones to say that. No, I don't have some big, hairy cooliones. I just know my right as a citizen under these United States of America. And I know that on the books, there's a statute, there's a law. It's 42 USC 1986, if you want to look it up. And it's a law that holds our bureaucrats and our legal officials accountable for their failure to prevent the things that they could have knowingly prevented. The beauty of this particular legislation is that it doesn't hold you accountable to the degree that you can be covered by your Congress, or you could be covered by your job description or the bond that's connected to your job description. This one pierces the veil and it attacks you personally. This assigns you personal liability for this action. Hey, listen, I'm sorry. We've had conversations with you, right? I've sent emails to your office, right? I'm the advocate I'm that guy, right? I helped you write the legislation, right? You've been ignoring me. And so we have to take this action to get your attention. We need the Congress back in session. We need to have the veteran-owned small business goal passed. And then finally, we need you all to grow a pair and reverse this error, reverse this shenanigan that's calling for the consolidation or centralization of contracts under the federal government's purchasing agent. And so you as Congress have the ability to make that change. If you don't, where's my little slide there? Let me bring this back up. We the people will take it within our own hands to change it ourselves while we're going to the ballot box, while we're going through the process of making sure that the new Congress, right, the new senators and new Congress that we seat understand that they serve at the will of the people. I don't know how this thing got flipped, but we're going to make sure that you know that. And I'm going to make sure that my citizen soldiers know their rights, because for some reason, you guys have got everybody punked right now, right? Our citizen soldiers don't realize, let me look at you closely when I say this, that we have rights under the Constitution. And when you look at this process that they are driving under the auspices of Executive Order 14240 to centralize contracts under the federal government's purchasing agent, what most people who haven't studied themselves approved don't know is what they're doing is they're asking your permission, right? In the proposals that you're hearing out of GAO, in the proposals that you're hearing out of OMB, and the proposals that you're hearing out of GSA, what they're doing is they are telegraphing to the American public their desires and intention. It's not a fait accompli. It's not a fait accompli until they take all of that stuff that they've been throwing out there in the form of the FAR rewrite and blah, 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 and issue a proposed ruling through the Federal Register. Is this thing on? This is how this process works, right? These are the civics that we skipped in school. They have to issue a proposed ruling under the Federal Register, at which time we, the people, the American public, have the ability to weigh in on that document. My hallucination, having participated in formulating regulations and legislation in the past, is that this document is going to be voluminous. It's going to be thousands of pages because they're going to be trying to slip something under our nose. So I'm alerting the citizen soldiers right now that we need to be on the lookout for when that document comes out. And when it comes out, right, let's take every area of it and let's slam it back on their desk and say, we don't like this. And let's equally take that same message and let's deliver it to this Congress who works for we the people and tell them we don't like this. We don't want this. We're tired of these shenanigans. Stop pointing fingers at each other and get the people's work done. I'm drawing the line in the sand with this Patriot Report. I've put my money, my time, and my effort where my mouth is. I believe that these United States of America is worthy. It's deserving of the effort that we, true patriots, we citizen soldiers, are going to put in to protect it. And that's my opening salvo. Mr. Hill, what do you think?
That was a mic drop. That's what I think. But no, so what should the veterans and the civilian soldiers be doing in the meantime? Is it getting educated as much as they can, or should they be trying to get with you and see how we could come together as a collective to to have our public opinion and let them know that we don't approve of this. We don't, we want to see change. How does that whole process looks?
That's a good question. Like, what should our citizen soldiers be doing now, right? One of the things that we would invite you to do is join us in the common watering hole in the community of practice that we've built around our central issue, right? And our central issue is leveling the playing field for him and her who bore the battle. So we have a website, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to take you over to that website. This is the Ability to Network, and this is the DoD Driving the Goal for Disabled Veterans page right now. And so if you're seeing the screen, you're seeing a URL that takes you to an environment that we've created to drive the goal program for disabled veterans. There you can watch a video where you can edify yourself, or more importantly, you can learn more about the movement, learn about the dates that we're going to Washington we're going to Washington before they shut it down to lobby our government. Learn Mr. Elmore's historic position on it, learn my historic position, but more importantly than all of that, you can click this link down here and you can reach out to your congressman, you can reach out to your senator and tell them that you want them to support the GOAL program for veterans and disabled veterans at the Department of Defense. If you do that part, and I'm gonna stop sharing and go back to the live screen, and I believe this has brought us back to the live screen now, Mr. Hill. If you do that, right, you will be starting the first step in contributing to this movement that we have underway to level the playing field in contracting for him and her who bore the battle, while ensuring that we stabilize our industrial base, while we ensure that we reshore the right kind of manufacturing assets and we make America safe again, right? There's no more worry about supporting our foreign nations because we're running out of munitions, because our industrial base was allowed to retard because of foolhardy strategies like NAFTA or one of the other trade agreements that led us down the wrong pathway. We are taking our position as citizen soldiers to take charge of this issue and say, in areas where you're making us less safe, no more, can't do that, right? We've seen this movie before, and we're going to do something about it. So I'm telling the um, uh, Congress, I'm telling the president, I'm telling the senators that if we don't do something to reverse this shenanigan around this centralizing of contracts, you're going to have to deal with a brigade, battalion, squadron of citizen soldiers landing at the election block. And I'm sorry I went long-winded on that, Mr. Hill, because this is a serious matter. It's a serious time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and I know we said we're gonna keep it under 30 minutes for ours, and I know they want more, so that's all the reason for you guys to come back tomorrow, same time, same location, where we'll dive in deeper and keep you updated with everything in regards to government contracting, the shutdown, National Defense Authorization Act. So I'm Ratwan Hill, and of course that was Mr. GovCon, Mr. Walter Cotton. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Hey, let's leave them with something to think about because people have been asking me questions about an event that's supposed to be taking place this week, right? Which is the Department of Defense's Mentor Protege program. I was scheduled to be a featured speaker at that event, and it was canceled due to the shutdown. But a lot of people are trying to figure out, especially our service disabled veteran contractors, what they should be doing in this pivot, right? It's like, I mean, like the small business community is in the crosshairs of this movement if something isn't done. And so I'm hearing a lot of people scrambling for the right thing to do. I look at some of my contemporaries, and there are a lot of contemporaries that I have out there that came up at the footstool of the wellspring of knowledge that is the Cotton method that are confused right now. Is the 8A program going to be viable moving forward? What does the impact of the lawsuit on the Department of Transportation's MWE program, how does that impact that community? What does the consolidation and centralization of contracts, right? How should I be planning if I'm a small business? How should I be planning for 2026 and 2027? Well, for those of you that are looking for a way to get out of the mustard so you can catch up, hey, don't scroll away, man. This scrolling is eating your brain. My name is Walter Cotton, and I got a quick hitter quitter. And no, I don't want to have an additional conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion and what's fair and what's unfair. What I want to have a conversation with you about is the mission that I'm on to demonstrate the fact that America wants its veterans to be rich, dare I say wealthy. And I'm providing examples and evidence of that in the form of the industrial based revitalization need that we have. I'm of the opinion that him and her who bore the battle should be given first bite at the apple. But my opinion and 20 cents won't get you a cup of coffee in this environment. You got to have the know-how to take advantage of the rights that you bring to the table. And therefore, I've pulled together a team of best-in-class brains to deliver a solution that provides you a turnkey approach to taking full advantage of the contracting opportunities that are out there. What you see pictured in the grouping next to me is the first cohort that we graduated over at Morgan State University with the new know-how to take maximum advantage of the contracting opportunities that are on the street. Your opportunity exists now as the registration for our November 11th 2025, I think that might be Veterans Day class is open now. Hey, let me close this out by reintroducing myself. My name is Walter Cotton, and many people say that I'm one of the most consequential individuals to hit the disabled veteran contracting space. I'm expanding that capability to include my veteran-owned small businesses, and I look forward to seeing you in one of our future sessions. Hey, I wanted you to hang on there while this was finishing up, because I've got a special offer for those of you who stuck around. I've been taking a real close look at the dilemma that's happening in the contracting space. And we have put together a solution that leads you to the promised land. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Did it before, done it again. Those of you who know me know that in the contracting space, I'm known as the Black Wayne Gretzky of GovCon, right? And the reason they call me that is because I skate to where the contracting opportunities are going to be, just like Wayne Gretzky skated to where the puck is going to be. In this season, I know where the opportunities are, and I'm sharing it with those people who are taking advantage of my class. But for our veteran business community, I'm not talking about our service disabled veteran business community, because you guys have access to this thing called the VRNE self-employment track, right? Uncle Sugar will pay your way. But for our veteran-owned small businesses who have their eye on the GovCon market and want to get ahead of the curve, they want to get ahead of this change, I'm going to do something very unique. If you go out to the ability2.biz website, the masterclass or /masterclass, and you contact me with an interest in registering for the site, I'm going to take half of the money that you would have to pay for the class, and I'm going to donate it myself. Listen to this. To the government relations effort to make sure that we have the triggers locked in the event that Congress still continues to play these shenanigans. So let me say that another way. For those of you who are veteran-owned small businesses and would like to take advantage of a course that is responsible for more than $150 billion worth of wealth transfer to veterans, and you want to take advantage of that for half the price, surf out to the website and send me a request for an invitation, and I will send you a discount code that will give you 50% off the price. And I'm going to take the 50% that you don't have to pay, listen to this, out of my pocket, and I'm going to donate it to the Government Relations Management Fund, because we need to put this Congress on notice. We need to make sure that they understand that we're done being passive. We're done not participating in the political process, because they have demonstrated that they can't do the people's business. And Mr. Hill and I will be back here every morning at 0800 delivering another installment of our Patriot Report. Until then, I'm Walter Cotton, and he is Mr. Ridwan Hill. The D is silent, and we're out.
Not really.